What is up, guys? Welcome back, or welcome, I should say, to a podcast and show about a lot of things. This channel is going to be focused on um, mental health, a bit of mental health, a bit of mobile photography, maybe even both mixed, and whatever else comes to mind. That is exactly the description of this channel and what things are going to be about. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have Michael Pepper. What's going on, man?
Not a lot. I think it's a good subjects to talk about considering things I've dealt with, considering my major in college was photography. And so, you know, I got some stuff to talk about and different devices to cover and things that it kind of surprised me this year and as a part of like devices I've gotten so far and
Now, if you guys want to subscribe to Michael, I'll have links down in the description down below. This podcast in specifics will not be about tech too much, but we will touch on it. If you guys want to hear more about tech, like I said, subscribe to Michael, subscribe to my tech channels. I'll have links down in the description. But Michael, why don't you tell the people who you are, what you're about, and yeah.
well, my name is Michael Pepper. I have a tech channel I started about 6 years ago. No. Yeah, 6 years ago, and for me, it's not just the idea of my kinda mantra is I don't only talk tech, I live it, and you
I love it.
I don't only see, that's the thing, you're talking about, like, not just talking about technology. I talk about other things on my channel occasionally too. I've talked about mental health. I try to link it to technology, apps you can use using your smartwatch, things like that, but I feel like, more and more so as things kind of become not really bland, but if you look at every device that's out there, they're all pretty much the same. iOS has kind of adapted stuff from Android, and then now Samsung and OnePlus and all these companies kind of borrow stuff from iOS as far as looks and even features sometimes. That no matter what phone you get or device you get, you're gonna have a very similar experience. So I feel like it's
Absolutely.
important to understand the capabilities of your device and how it actually affects your life and the way that you live versus like, oh, here's all these specs. You have, whether it's a
Yeah.
Pixel with their call screening features, whether it's OnePlus with their AI, which like nobody hardly ever talks about, but like they have some awesome AI summary stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you and I are part of a WhatsApp group or couple
Hmm.
groups and one in Spanish, and occasionally I use this feature which is really cool that's in this sidebar that's AI translate, and so it will
Oh, okay.
translate whatever is on the screen. So like if I'm like, I'm not sure I understand that word, I can bring it up and it'll just show everything on the screen.
Oh, that's cool.
Or like if people don't know, maybe they're working on learning it more
Hmm.
a particular language, Google's Gboard has a built-in translation where you can type it out in English and then it will just put it out in whatever language you want in any
Yeah.
messaging app, email, whatever, and then you can hit send or, so sometimes if I can't think of a word, I'll type it out in English, then switch it to Spanish, and then type the word or
Yep.
Spanish and then
Yep.
switch it to
I,
English, type the word, and then back and forth, and the cool thing about that too is, like, I had somebody post a comment in one of
uh-huh.
my videos, and it wasn't in English or Spanish, and so I was just able to use and it recognized the language automatically, and then I was able to respond to them even though I don't speak the language. I
Yeah.
understood enough of it that I was able to reply and know that it was okay, and so, like, maybe you have somebody that makes a that you interact with in your life that speaks another language, and you
Mhm.
just be wanna be able to do that. It's pretty amazing, and even, like, the text to voice stuff where, I was noticing that on Samsung, you can, um, do, like, where it'll read out your texts or, like, a website or whatever,
Yep.
and you can add in different languages, and then in each language, there's, like, a voice you can select and, like, different ones. So you could select a male or a female, like, in Spanish, and you can select, like, the tone and there'll be different ones with different tones of voice. But even
Oh,
if
that
you don't speak another language, just the fact of, like, some people have hard time maybe using their hands, so the
yeah.
fact that you can just speak something and then have it come out in text,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then vice versa, you're on a website and you're like, "I don't really wanna read this whole thing." So you summarize it, and then some devices even have the feature where it will summarize and then just, like, reads that to you once the summary is done automatically. Some of them it does a summary and then there's, like, a little, uh, play icon, or it'll say, like, "Read to me," or "Read aloud," or whatever, and you hit that and it will read it. So,
Right.
you can get the gist of what's going on out there. Maybe you found several articles on a subject that you like, and you wanna know, like, okay, this is a summary of it, and then you find another one, and they're like, okay, this has a little bit more different details. You can, have it do that, or recipes are really handy. Things with watches where they're developing. I don't know if you have you seen the app where you can use your watch like a mouse?
No.
Where so there's this app out there, and I can't think of what it's called, but basically um, I don't think it works with the Apple Watch, but I've seen it work with an Android watch, and I actually saw somebody link an Android watch to an iPad to do it because it treats it like a Bluetooth mouse.
Yeah.
And so you move your hand and it'll move the cursor, and then you, like, pinch with your hand to select stuff, so, like, playing and pausing music, but also like a fist clutch
Mhm.
held together and then moving your hand down to, like, scroll. So, like I said, a recipe is up there, you have stuff on your hands, you don't wanna touch your screen, you can scroll through stuff.
Right.
Um, there are foot pedals that you can get
Oh, okay.
where, um or, like, for you, you could use your hand and hit it, but, like, it will scroll through, and so, like, if you're doing maybe you have a text out there that you wanna read through for doing, like, a script for a video, or,
Mhm.
like, people who play music is what it's designed for, so their sheet music is up there, and then they can just, like, hit it with their foot to go to the next thing, so somebody who's playing guitar or violin or things where you have to use most instruments, you have to use both hands, I get,
Right.
so you can
That's
just
cool.
page through and just the fact that they're making it available, built for more people, like, in real world use is exciting to me, and, we
Oh, yeah,
see,
for
like,
sure.
Apple releasing their new, like, M4 MacBook Air, we had the M3 iPad Air, we had the iPad with A16 chip, we've had the new iPad minis, we've had all this stuff that has come out recently,
Mhm.
and people are like, "Oh, it's just a chip, it's just a processor upgrade, or it's just that," and it's like, "Okay, yeah, but that can make things happen a little bit quicker. That
Yeah.
can get rid of frustrations because maybe they have an older iPad and they're like, "Well, I have the 10th gen,' and they're thinking about getting the 11th gen, and they look and they go, "Well, it's just going from an A14 to an A16." But
Right.
sometimes having things happen a little bit quicker can reduce the annoyances we have and the frustrations we have in life, and, if you
Yep.
wanna talk about mental health, a lot
Yep.
of us, stresses of life and stresses of technology can kind of increase your frustrations and your anxieties with mental health, and, there's, like, some pretty amazing apps out there, like the Calm app is pretty neat, I think
Yeah.
they have a subscription now, but I think they still have a free version,
Yep.
um,
I
and my
use
sister found one and she's using it, and my nephew's using it, and, my sister's husband is using it, and I can't think of what it's called, but basically, there's, like, these goals that you achieve,
Mhm.
um, and when you achieve it, I think you start out with an egg, and it's a bird, and it, like, grows, and, like, you feed it and give it stuff to drink and, like, teach
Oh,
it and stuff.
wow,
So
okay.
as you, like, do
Okay.
these tasks, it's like this pet. I don't even know if, people listening remember the little, the little thing you could have on your keychain that was, like, black and white, and it was the little animal, you know what I'm talking
I'm not
about?
I'm not really sure. I know there was one thing that I loved, actually 2 things that I loved as a kid. One was Webkins, and then the other, um, Club Penguin were the 2 games.
Mhm.
Now I know Webkins, they had a stuffed animal and, you know, it would come with a, code of some sort. You would go to the website and put in the code, and you would have that animal as a virtual pet. Um, and you could actually talk to people and do different things, and that was fun. You know,
Yeah, so
I
you're
think
webs
it's
you're in Webkinz age. See, I
yeah,
remember s what I'm so I'm let's see, I think our age difference could be enough. Maybe
yeah,
that's just enough that there's the because there was the precursor to it, and it was just like this keychain thing that you had,
yep,
and, it was just black and white, and
yeah,
you could, like it would die if you didn't feed it and all sorts of stuff. I remember kids at school freaking out because 'cause they're like, "I gotta get home so I can remember to," because teachers
yeah,
had to take it away from them because they were trying to bring it to school and get in trouble with it. Same
yep,
thing with
yep,
now where, there's classrooms where the kids have to put their phone in, like, a sleeve at the front of the classroom, and it's, like, clear, so if it does go off, the teacher can see it and know, like, what's going on, and maybe somebody hit a phone or what's going on, or if there's an emergency, they can still, get to it or
right,
whatever.
right. Man, I like it's these vague memories that we have from the past, and going into it now, it's like, wow, I can't believe this was like 5, 10, 15 years ago, you know. Just a whole nostalgia of having those things, you know. Um, I wanted to ask you though, uh, what are your thoughts? We've been YouTubers for 6, 7 years plus. Um, what? How do you maintain your mental health with YouTube and get motivation to do videos and stuff?
So for a while, my like the first year I was buying so much stuff so that I could keep out making content. And then I realized like that caused another anxiety, like financial anxiety.
Yep.
And then the second year I kind of slowed down quite a bit. And of course, if you think about it, that was the beginning of the pandemic, was like right at the beginning of my second year
Right.
of YouTube, 2020. And so that changed things, but also more and more people were making channels. We saw like a ton of people come in and make channels. And
Yeah.
I would say probably 90% of those people are gone, unfortunately. But then we have some people that are
Yeah.
still around there, Patrick Rambles and like RJ and um
Even
Alex G Tech and like
yep.
different ones that started, that they've kind of blown up. But then you
Right.
had other ones that just kinda came in, started, did, really well, and then just kinda disappeared. So for
Yeah.
me, it's been a kind of about, like, make content when you feel like it, and don't feel bad if you just have a time where you don't feel like making content for a while.
Yeah.
Also, if you have an influx where you're, like, extremely motivated,
Mhm.
don't like, pump out content day after day after day after day and post it day after day after day after day, because then when the well dries up, you don't have content to post anymore, so you can schedule it out. So if you're like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can pump out a video day after day after day," or like, I can make 3 videos a day for a week."
Mhm.
So it'd be,
Mhm.
let's say that's, 15, 20 videos or whatever. Delay those. You could literally have, like, 5 months worth of content then right there,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
by delaying a little bit and, making it or let's say make it 2 or 3 videos a week so you have, 6 weeks worth of content.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And people think, "Oh, I need to post something now. I need to get the device right when it comes out and all that stuff." And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but there'll be
Mhm.
people looking for stuff later, and there'll be people that are looking for newer stuff because they wanna
Yep.
know, like, has updates fixed certain things, and it's like so some channels, you'll see, like, the OnePlus 13 comes out or the S25 Ultra or the iPhone 16e, and it's like they'll do the unboxing, they'll do kind of a first impressions.
Mhm.
You'll see the Yeah, and then you'll see the, like, "I was wrong" videos or the, "This device is not like what I
Yep.
expected," and explaining, like, "Oh, they did these out." It's the one of the things that bothers me is people do these, like, outrage videos, and they'll do it before the product even comes out. Sometimes they'll do it when they first get it and tell you
Right.
why you shouldn't get it, and then a week or 2 later, it'll be like, "Oh, this is why you should get it," and, "Oh, this is, like, the best cases for it." It's like,
Mhm.
"So which is it?"
Mhm.
And so for me, I have a really hard time trusting some creators when it comes to that. Like, if
Yeah.
they tell you not to buy something, wait a week or 2, watch their channel again, and then, and watch other people's videos. But if you have somebody you
Yeah.
really trust, just watch for like 2, 3 weeks and see because that tends to be a trend that's really popular. And it's because outrage draws attention, but then turning around and praising it gets the people that are like the, Apple sheep or the Samsung Knights or the Pixel
Yep.
whatever. So, it's funny too, and sometimes people will do these videos where they're like, "Oh, no, I don't like this product, and I'm not gonna get it," and then they buy it, and
Mhm.
then you'll see an
Mhm.
influx of, like, accessories and cases because, what we know from the inside is companies will hit them up and say, "Hey, are you getting this?" And then originally they might think that they weren't going to, but then they do it so that they can because then they get all the cases and accessories sent to them.
Yeah.
Um, for me, like, wasn't planning on really buying anything this year.
Mhm.
Then things just kinda happened, and I traded in some stuff, and, like, taxes came in, but I'm not buying, like, a ton of stuff, and,
Right.
like, my MacBook Air I got, it's because I traded in stuff,
I think the last
same
few
thing with
years.
my Mac Mini, same thing with my OnePlus 13, like,
Yeah.
just trading in or selling stuff. The S25 Ultra is the only device that I've, like, bought outright, and I bought it on Amazon, so that I
Right.
wasn't paying $1,300 for it. It was still, like, $1,000, but
Right. Right.
that's a little bit better, and,
I was
I'll
when
do
I first.
videos on it, and I'll do the videos, it's like, I wish I could see people doing these videos, like, before I got it, so I'll do those videos
Yeah.
now. That's how
Yeah.
my channel started, actually, was doing videos on things that I wanted other people to answer the questions on, or, like, I was part of a Facebook group that,
Uh-huh.
Kevin Breeze had,
Mhm.
and, people were asking questions, and it's like, so I'm in the comments, I was like, "I'm gonna make a channel," and that's kinda
Yep.
what I was touching on, and I was touching on weird brands like Umidigi and, like,
Mhm.
some of these that people hadn't heard of, and then
Yeah, and
now it's like, just do what just do what you enjoy, and
yeah,
it'll be easy.
exactly,
Don't
exactly. If you
force
don't
it.
and I think that's a big thing. If you don't enjoy what you do, and what you're talking about, why are you doing it? You know? You gotta enjoy the thing that you're talking about. And even if you have to venture out into different parts, um, do it. I think that honestly, um, yes, it's good to keep consistent in what you're talking about and what your channel's about. But I also think that if there's something you want to talk about one day, just make a video on it and, you know, um, see what happens. And then, try different things until you actually like what you're doing and you're growing your channel, you know?
I think it was, I think it was Marquez Brownlee that said, he I think he was the one that said this, and I can't remember, I think it was a quote by somebody else, but expectations are the thief of joy.
Yes. Yes. I
And
remember
so,
that.
like, that's an important life lesson. It's something when
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
going through,
Absolutely.
like, my counseling for anxiety, one of the things that was interesting is I would expect to be anxious, so then I was.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I would tell myself, like, "I can't go to the store, I can't leave the apartment because I'm gonna be anxious."
Uh-huh.
And then I got to the point where, like, I almost needed to develop anxiety because I needed to have something to tell my, therapist when I was meeting with him.
Yeah.
I needed to have, like, a story, and I realized, like, I just wanted somebody to talk to. I was bored, I was lonely, I needed somebody to talk to about the things that interested me, the things I was doing throughout the week, what I had coming up, and it was like, when I can talk to my parents or I can talk to different people about that, and I usually talk to my sister about once a week,
Mhm.
and we have, different things we've gone through, and so I think it's important with both, the content creation aspect, the mental health, just the life aspect of find people who have dealt with things that you have dealt with,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then you're not alone, or just reach out because you never know, somebody might have dealt with the same thing that you've dealt with, and you can't tell because not everything is on the
You know.
outside. Mental health, the
Yeah.
worst thing
Yeah.
about that is it's can't be seen.
Right.
Not everybody that dealt with some mental trauma has, like, physical scars, and some people look perfectly happy, and it could be, maybe they're on antipsychotics, maybe they're on anti-anxiety medicine or medicine for depression, or maybe
Mhm.
they just went through counseling and they're dealing with it, and the thing is it never goes away. That's the other thing, like, people
Right.
expect
Right.
things to go away, and it never does, and same thing,
Yeah.
like, when you're on YouTube, people expect things to change,
Right.
and change doesn't really happen unless
Yep.
you change. Like, you're in you have to understand you're in control of things,
Mhm.
but you can't expect things to just miraculously happen, and you can't expect
So
to change other people, and you can't expect things to just, like, fall in your lap or happen for you in life. You just
right.
have to be the architect of your own happiness, and I know that's a
Absolutely.
common like, I'm
Absolutely.
throwing out phrases that other people have used, but it's like,
Dude,
there's not
yeah.
very many ways of saying things that haven't already been said, but, like,
Absolutely.
brilliant
Absolutely.
philosophers, you have to be the architect of your own joy, actually, I think is the
Right.
joy is
What
the
what are your thoughts, how does YouTube help you? Like, have you ever been in a situation where, you're not having a great mental health day and you just decide to distract yourself, and do a YouTube video where, I don't know if you do like scripting or anything like that, like to get yourself.
never
No?
I've scrapped videos because I sat down and it was like I was angry and I didn't want that to come out in my video, so I just
Yeah.
scrapped the video, and I never ended up doing the video. I've had
Oh,
videos I have probably killed off as many projects and videos as I have made videos, if not more. I mean,
mhm.
I just did, like, my 400th video the other day. That doesn't include, like, the live streams I did. I probably have 150 or however many of those up there. But, like,
Right, I have double it.
don't be
I
afraid to
have
just
double you.
don't be afraid to just not do something
Yeah,
because you feel like you have to.
yeah,
'Cause then
and
it goes from, like it's the idea of, what's the if you enjoy what you do, then you won't work a day in your life.
yep, yep.
So,
I
like, if
think
YouTube doesn't have to be work for everybody. For
right.
me yeah, I wanna get monetized, and I want people to, like, subscribe, and I want
See,
memberships, and I want
that's the
super
thing with
chats, and I
me.
want ad revenue, but if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. I still wanna put out content that I'm happy about and that
Yeah,
I'm proud to have put out, and I didn't just, like, put it out because I felt like I needed to. I mean, I've had companies that have reached out to me and been like, "Where's the video?" And it's like, um it will b I'll post it tomorrow, and I posted it that day, and then I have, like, videos that I still need to do, and I always tell these companies, like, "Hey, understand it takes me time because I'm
yeah,
not gonna just
yeah,
put out crap." I'm
right,
gonna
exactly.
try to get my thoughts together on things and try to do things different and try to come out with content that I don't know, like, I the other thing is I don't edit anymore.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I got a style now where well, hardly, like so I do what some people would refer to as, like, rough cut posting. So,
Uh-huh.
basically, it's the only time I would need to do more than just sit down, record, and then hit upload
Mhm.
would be, like, if I'm doing this, like, talking head part, and then
Right.
I flip my camera down to, like, show the product, and then
Mhm.
I go back to, like, my face for, like, the outro part. I
Yep.
gotta put those 3 parts together, or if I have, like, a I don't know, I'm, like, gonna unbox something, and then I have to do a break to, like, set it up because I'm not gonna have a camera running for 20 minutes while it's setting up,
Right.
and then come back, but, like, apart from that, I don't really um so, like, right there, there's dead space.
Uh-huh.
I think through what I'm gonna do so much
Mhm.
that I if I feel like I can't just talk without stopping talking, I won't record until I can.
Right.
'Cause I don't wanna have to go through and edit out ahs and ums, and, like, mentally, one of the things I figured out to do is just if you don't have something to say, just don't say anything,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then you'll have dead air in there, and then you can look at the, like, sound waves, and you
Uh-huh.
can see that empty spot space, and you
Yep.
can clip that out, but, like, clip it out just on the inside of like, just slightly after it starts and just slightly before it ends. Put a
Mhm.
transition in there, and it looks natural. The other thing figuring out is, like, don't is to not move a lot. So, like, if you
Yep.
have a top down on something and you're talking away and all of a sudden, I don't know, you have to sneeze or cough and then you'd have to, like, edit that out. If you didn't move when you edited it out, it just it's like it never happened because nothing moved. Same thing when you're
Right.
doing the talking head. If you're moving around a lot, it's gonna
Yep.
go from, like, over here to all of a sudden over here.
Yeah.
Like, you
I
move
have
through space and time faster
right.
than the speed of light and sound moves, like
Yeah, I have that habit of moving around and, moving my hands when I'm talking. Um, I'm trying not to do that, um, but I think that, it's just a part of us, I guess. I think honestly, what I want to do with this podcast is what you were saying, rough cut, whatever you don't want, and um, just keep it raw and natural. Because I think, honestly, and going forward with my other channels, I think that that's something that's important that I've heard and I'm starting to learn over the years is just be yourself. And I mean, if there's anything that is in the video, that happens, make it funny or something, like let's say you coughed or something weird happens throughout your video, you can make it black and white and just put it in as something funny or whatever. I think something like that would be pretty interesting. um and also like mistakes. I think that that's one thing, is mistakes. If you do a mistake, use that clip as a blooper, or as a beginning thing, and be like, okay, this is gonna happen in the video. um I gotta call this person back.
I've had
um
times where, like, I've started off recording and then, like, 3 minutes in, I, like, switch up how I'm talking or whatever and literally, like, cut the first 3 minutes because I was like, "That would be a better beginning." Or
right.
take the first 3 minutes and put it to the towards the end because I was like, "That actually would work off better there," and just move
Right.
stuff around. Anymore, I think it's, like, important in life, so when you go to write a paper when you're in school, right, you have to have, like, your intro, and then you have your body, and then you have your closing, like, statement or whatever,
Yep.
and within that, you'll have other parts to it, but, or if you're going in for an interview, whether it's for a job or maybe you're trying to get into a college and they're gonna interview you or whatever it is, um y the idea of, like, being prepared in thought before you go into something
Mhm.
is really important to me.
Right.
So, I will have a whole conversation in my head before a conversation happens sometimes, so I'm prepared for, like, "Okay, what if this question comes up?" Um, Quite often, um well,
Yeah.
I don't do blind interviews.
Right.
So, like, when you've asked me to sit down with you and, we've talked a lot, we've done different live streams and podcasts and stuff, I
Yep.
always wanna know topic, at least something, so I can be like, "Okay, what are we gonna" I
Yep.
don't like blind interview, and so and if people haven't watched, like, when I used to do my creator interviews, which I wanna get back into, I always
Yeah,
had
man. I
questions
was I
prepared,
was actually gonna say you should.
and,
I actually came
occasionally people
across.
would tell me, like, they don't want the questions ahead of time, and it's like, "Okay." And then other times people will tell me they did, and it's like, "Okay." I always have them prepared, like, way at a time. I always try to reach out to people, like,
Yeah.
weeks, if not, like, a month, like, quite a bit ahead of time. I have things scheduled out. I mean, when I was doing those, usually I was scheduled out, 4 weeks, 6 like, so far at a time. Because the other thing with
Right.
that is, like, you don't wanna have a week where you don't have anybody, and if you do, then I can be planned to, like, solo stream or whatever, but
Yeah.
or if, like, somebody has to cancel, you can move people or if somebody's like, "Hey, can you do it sooner?" Sometimes you can move people around,
Right.
if you know far ahead enough ahead of time.
Yeah.
Um, I
I've
mean,
had to do that all the time.
you asked me yesterday, I think it was, to do this, and, it was good, and, it's a Wednesday night. Usually you do Thursdays,
Yeah.
and then you'll post on, like, Saturday or whatever, but,
Yeah. Well, my
for
tech
me, it's
podcast,
just like
this is gonna be whenever I can.
for people that wanna interview people, um, be conscious of people's time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Also make sure like, if you're gonna schedule somebody for some time, make sure you know for sure, like, obviously people get sick, things happen, but, like,
Right.
try to know for sure that you're gonna be available that day and not have to cancel.
Yeah.
'Cause if people start doing that quite often, then other people see that and go, "Well, no," like, if you try to ask somebody else, they might be like, "No," 'cause I like, especially
I've
people,
had.
'cause there's people that have to time slot it out, like, I'm pretty much available anytime, but you have some people that, like, if they're on with you, then they're not recording their own content and doing their own thing. It's their time. It costs them money potentially, or like they'd have to delay a project, or they have to get it like recorded and edited sooner than they want because maybe their style is they record on Monday, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then they
Right.
edit Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then they're off like Sunday, and then they start over every week with that so that they get 3 videos out a week,
Right.
on on Thursday, they edit Monday's video, on Friday, they edit Tuesday's video, on Saturday, they edit Wednesday's video or whatever, or sometimes they record on Monday, edit on Tuesday, record on Wednesday, edit on Thursday, record on Friday, and then edit the next week or whatever, edit, the
Yep.
same day. People have schedules, and you interfere with that, and I mean, yeah. So, I try to not cancel on people. I've had it happen occasionally. It's also I
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
not, like, publicly post if I'm gonna stream because I've had
Yeah.
occasions where, like, something happens and it's like I can't do it.
Yeah. And
Twisted my
and I
an
used to
I
do
had
that.
planned on doing a live stream on my birthday, and then I turned my ankle, and I was like, "Well, I guess I can't do that because I don't have a good way to prop up my leg while I stream."
I I honestly, was gonna ask you about that because I was like, I thought he was gonna go live, and then you didn't say anything because I was gonna be on it, and you didn't say anything, so I was like, "Okay, maybe he's not gonna be on it, whatever."
If I put it in
But I was gonna
StreamYard and
ask you about it, but I'm like, "You know what? Let him do him and, tell me when he's ready," and, um but yeah, I definitely think those are some good points, that you made. You know, try not to, and I try my best, but like I wish I could have that schedule of like, keeping set dates and stuff. But sometimes things happen and you can't, like I don't live alone. I live with my parents. So a lot of the time recording is wild when people are home because they call you at the wrong time or, whatever. So I try to do all my stuff when nobody's home and um there are days where I'll be like I think I'm going to be free, but then like sometimes I'll have my nephew's basketball game like today. We were supposed to do earlier and it couldn't happen because I was at the game. And that's the kind of thing, like if you can't control that. But like you said, if you know enough ahead of time, then just, be straightforward and tell them, hey, this came up. And I mean, honestly, I don't want to, be mean or anything, but like if people get mad at you because of that, that's on them, not on you. I mean, you're trying to do your best of inviting that person to the live or the podcast or whatever. Um, so that's just my thought on that.
It's interesting because, you know, one of the most difficult things for me is live streaming by myself,
Yes.
especially if
Yeah.
there's, like, nobody in the chat right away. But
Or at
if
all, like
you
mine.
if you, think about it, like, pretend that it's just your inner dialogue.
Yep.
Just talk to yourself, but not, like, in a creepy way. Talk to the camera like somebody else is out there that cares about what you wanna talk about. Have things planned in your head, whether it's
Yeah.
questions you're gonna pop up and answer, whether it's topics. Set a time frame. Um, Understand that you might go over the time frame because, the more you do it, you start getting really comfortable and you start talking and you might go over it.
Absolutely.
Also understand sometimes you might do a live stream. I've had times where I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna be for an hour," and then, like,
Yep.
half an hour through, it's like I'm ready to be done. Um, Sometimes
And
I've
then it all
also had
depends.
though where, like, I've set a live stream and I'm, like, an hour in, and then that's when people start filing in, and it's
Yep.
like I gotta
Yeah.
jump and I still go anyways because I want people to not feel like they can then, like, expect that from me. So if
Yeah.
you're gonna live stream, like, let's say I was gonna live stream every Monday at 8 o'clock after, after Lewis streams. The other thing is, you might have people, especially when you first start doing it, or if you're kind of inconsistent about it, where they start really filing in when you're late into it. And so you can choose to stick around and keep going. I've done that before for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Me
was
too.
common that I'd go for like a 2 or 2.5 hour live stream. But if I'm
Yeah.
by
Me.
myself, I can't do that. Like your voice
Yeah.
starts hurting when you're just talking to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Questions will come in. Sometimes you also have to learn to, like, ignore things, or, like, when comments come in, structure it in such a way that you have, like, your intro to your and then maybe as people come in, like, greet them,
Hmm.
and then if more people come in, like, maybe after, like, 15 minutes or 20 minutes after you've already greeted people, you do it again, and then as questions come in, doing them at certain times, so you're not just, like. Because one thing I know people do it, and it bothers me a little bit, is where people are just basically constantly reading the chat, because
Yep.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not there to hear you read the chat. I'm here to, like, hear what you
Talk
wanna
about whatever.
say, and, yeah, you can interact with the chat, but you can also just kinda go off from what people are asking and just
Uh huh.
answer it without, like, showing it on screen or reading it word for word. You can just be like, "And this," or whatever, and especially, like, if it's off topic from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or wait, maybe you change subject to that, or you just see like people in the chat are talking about certain things, so you segue into it, and then you can, you can comfortably cover it. But one of the things is like just constantly interrupting especially if you have a guest on, like try to let them talk. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
I have a hard time still because I was so used to hosting,
Uh huh.
having that like just taking a break. But the other thing is, you gotta realize that for me, at least, my only understanding has always been, if your guest wants to talk the whole time, let them.
Yeah. Right.
because, like, people can come to your channel and see you anytime, but if
Uh-huh.
they're there and you are there, like, having somebody and trying to learn about your guest or whatever, and
Yep.
maybe they're, like, an expert on certain thing, like, you have somebody like a Jefe, who talks about audio, or you have somebody maybe they're into cameras or maybe they're into whatever, and so that's why they're there. They're not there
Right.
like, they can see you anytime when you're doing your own videos, when you're doing solo streams, but if you
Yep.
have a guest on, there's usually a special particular reason for it.
Yeah,
And yes, I
definitely.
did just cleverly segue into talking about mobile photography because said we were gonna talk about that.
Yes, yes, we did. And we're running a little bit short on time, but we will talk about it. What made you get into photography? And have you ever considered doing mobile photography? Can't even talk.
So, my parents actually, um, like, shortly not too long after they were first married, they lived in a trailer, and they actually
Mhm.
used the bathroom as, like, a dark room, which,
Oh,
that's a like, that'd be, like, an EPA violation anymore, flushing the chemicals down the toilet and all that stuff, but, in the '70s, people didn't really think about that stuff,
yeah.
um, and my parents have always been the ones, like, having their camera out at every event, and now would be, like, their iPhones and stuff. We joked and called them the paparazzi. Um,
I like that.
um, but that's kinda what got me into it. I was studying criminal justice, and then all of
Uh-huh.
a sudden it came to, like, 2010, 2011, and all the funding for, like, police officers, like, furthering their education, doing their training just went away. Like,
Yep.
it got removed for, like, state police, city police, any of that, so I was like, "I need to find something I can actually use." And I didn't really like what I was going into anymore,
Yep.
and a little faith-based thing, I kinda prayed on it and realized, like, "Oh, I've taken photography 101, I really liked that class." And I was
Right.
like, "Well, I might as well study something that I enjoy," and so I did
Yep.
that, and, I was doing drawing and other art stuff too, and I mean, I took years of Spanish when I was in college. I took 2 years in middle school, I took 3 years in high school, and then another couple of years when I was in college, and, um, so language is something that's interesting, and it can be an art, poetry,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
but for me, like, mobile photography is the idea that it's just, like, out I'm trying to think of the photographer who said, "The best camera is the one that's always on you," or the best
Yep.
so it doesn't
Yep.
matter, like, there was a whole series that one of the channels
It
did where it was like, pro photographer, cheap camera, or cheap camera pro photographer or whatever, and they were using,
Yep.
like, an iPhone 4, like, years after it came out, or, like, the camera that was, like, in the Barbie body, or, like, the Lego camera, and, like,
Right.
so as long as you have enough light, and as long as you know how to frame things, and
Yep.
you know, like, the story you wanna tell, or the emotion you wanna capture, that's all it's about, or, like, the motion you wanna capture, so, like, a train moving by, like, I've seen some amazing stuff in the subways where you have, like,
Yep.
somebody walking, maybe it's, like, a businessman and he's got, like, his briefcase and he goes to take a step and you, like, catch the feet just kind of on the heel toe, slightly off the ground,
Yep.
and the train moving behind him, and so you get a fast enough exposure to freeze him, but long enough that the train kinda blurs behind him, and
Yep.
then the lights above, and you do that in black and white, or, like, animals or birds or, like, people walking their dogs or the old man sitting down and, like, smoking his cigarette or the guy polishing somebody's shoes, like,
Right.
everybody has a story, and I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
that's what's interesting to me, and I've also seen people where they have done some pretty crazy things where, like, they'll go out with their phone or their regular camera, and they'll just be like, "Hey, can I take your picture?" And they'll be like, "This is what I do," and show
Yeah.
them like, some examples, and then they take their photo. But then they talk to them, and they get their story. So then it
Yep.
becomes like an expose, it becomes like a journal or, like, detail on them, so it can be more than just capturing. It can be an
Right.
opportunity to, like, tell people And on the mental health related thing to that, it can be an opportunity to just, like, maybe somebody never talked to that person, and the reason the guy always looks grumpy or is down is because nobody just says hi. So you can use it
Right.
as a way to, like, introduce yourself to people. The thing
Yeah.
is I don't like photographing people at all. Not
Right.
really. I'll photograph my wife or my son, but I don't really like photographing people, unless they're just happen to be there. I've gotten some cool images, like some silhouettes
I have to.
of
I have
of
to.
things like, there's a group of Amish people at the lake, and
Uh-huh.
I got this picture, and it was like a silhouette of them because the sun was in the background.
Oh
This was years
shoot.
ago, I have it somewhere, and it was just amazing, and, like, you know,
You
you
still
can
have that
see the
picture? Or?
guys going like this and, like, hiking up his suspenders, and the lady's, like, holding up, like, her dress off her feet so it doesn't get wet, and,
Oh
like, you
wow.
have those moments and, like, the little kid and the kid standing between them.
Yeah.
And
I
but you
had
have to be careful because just because like, legally, you have to understand that if you're in public, there's nothing you can do about being photographed. It doesn't matter your age, whatever, it can be used
yeah.
as long as it's not, like, to falsely promote something,
Yeah.
but you just kinda have to be careful about it, but, in some areas, you have to have licenses, to photograph in certain areas, and the other thing is, like, if you're in a store, that's private property. If you're in a mall, that's private property. Even in their parking lot at a Walmart, that's technically private property.
Mhm.
If you're at somebody else's house, you have to have permission.
Right.
But for me, it's just the idea, like, I can shoot on a device and edit on the same thing and have it up there, like, within seconds.
Right. Right. I so funny funny story. I was out with a buddy of mine. This was probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We were at a local lake and we were just taking pictures and stuff. We were gonna do a video of mobile, kind of like a mobile photography from iPhone to Android standpoint, and we were just taking pictures. And I took a picture of what was supposed to be ducks in the lake. Well, this kid comes running by and happens to be happened to be in the shot. And I like that picture so much because A, I didn't have to work for it, and I just at the time I was just pointing and shooting. Um and I just thought it came out so good. To me, it kind of came out like something that Apple would be presenting in their event. So I was like, wow, this is so cool. Of course, I didn't know the kid or anything. He was just fooling around and whatnot. So I like I didn't want to post a picture, so I kept it on my phone. I ended up losing it because I had to restart when I got my new phone. I had to restart from scratch because I didn't have um enough cloud storage, and of
Mm.
course it didn't back up, so I completely lost it. But I thought that that was one of the greatest pictures that I've ever taken. And so, since then, and I think honestly, for a very long time, since the iPhone 10, mobile photography has been a thing for me because of portrait mode on iPhone. I really, really think that portrait mode has a lot to say. And honestly, I think that a lot of people don't use it to its potential, you know. Um, And the camera itself, honestly, like, people just point and shoot and take that picture. I'm following and subscribed to a mobile photography channel, and I think it's called Mobile Photography School. I can link it down in the description, and I'll send it to you, Michael. And so they literally teach you how to take your phone to the next level in terms of photography, and videography. And I like have been falling in love. So
Mobile
I mean,
pixels, petapixel, um Brent Hall. Um, I'm trying to think of there's a bunch of different photography-based channels that are great out there that,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
there one called Focal Length
Oh,
or
it's called
something Focal?
iPhone. It's called iPhone Photography School. I'm gonna send it to you right now before I forget.
But,
Go ahead.
when it comes to photography, I think the other thing is, don't just, like, blast the button and, like, take a bunch of photos and then go through. Like, one of the things is being intentional about it.
Oh,
So don't be
absolutely.
afraid to, like, wait for the moment. You don't have to and obviously, if something's, like, running around, yeah, you can do, like, burst shots to try to capture the exact moment, but I'm talking about, like, people just literally just constantly taking photos hoping that they get something. Like, be intentional about your framing, your lighting, your subject, and just wait.
Yep.
I think to kind of bring this full circle, if you will,
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, talking about like having expectations can cause anxiety.
Michael,
Um,
I don't wanna interrupt you,
Thinking
but,
too soon
um
and waiting too long can, really, really mess up your photography, but also just life in general. Um, do things, just do things intentionally and do things when they come to you and
yep,
don't have this idea that things are gonna turn out a certain way
right.
when they might turn out a lot better. And that's, life, that's mental health, that's photography, that's creating
Uh,
videos, that's whatever. Just
yeah,
do it. As
exactly.
as Nike would say, just do it. So
Exactly, though. You're absolutely right. I agree 100%. Michael, I do want
so
to thank you for joining me tonight. I think that we did cover a lot of stuff, and I really hope to get you on soon. Um, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to Michael. I will leave his channel down in the description down below. As well.
youtube.com/Michael Pepper Tech, and then on all my social media, it's the same thing except for on Twitter or X, where it's just Michael Pepper T because you run out of characters. But like Threads, Instagram, everywhere else actually lets me do the full name, and
I
the
think
M, the
I
P,
think
and the
we should
T are
change it.
capitalized. I
I
wanted to
think we
do
should.
MPT, but it wasn't available.
Oh,
I looked at other like variations on it. I looked at lowercase and capitalized. I look at like capitalizing my name and then lowercasing tech or normal my name and then capitalized tech. I looked at all the iterations, it wasn't available.
oh,
Um,
jeez.
at one point, I had tech discussions where the O was a zero,
Yep, I remember
but I didn't
that.
want but like people were confused about that, so I just brought it back to the normal thing. So,
Gotcha, gotcha.
well, thanks for
Awesome.
having me on. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, I really hope to have you on again. Like I said, this channel is gonna be a little bit of everything. Whatever comes to mind. Today we wanted to talk about YouTube, mental health, and a little bit of mobile photography. Next episode, um, I will probably touch a little bit more about mobile photography and the things that I've been learning, and some of the tips that I have. Um, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to know more about our channels, like I said, links are down in the description down below. Make sure you guys check us out. Um, and with that being said, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night.